welcome to the first edition of the Horizon Cloud Summit 2020. It will be a couple of days, very intense, that will focus on the setting the scene about the next generation cloud computing for shaping the European digital future. My name is Monique Calisti. Some of you might know me. I'm the CEO of Martel Innovate, and I have the pleasure to guide you throughout the agenda this morning, a very dense agenda. But before entering into the details of our event, let me give you a little bit of a logistic insight. Let's make sure that you all know that this session will be entirely recorded and published on the H Clouds channel. So if you don't feel comfortable with that, mind what you say or what you might hear. All participants except the speakers and moderators will be muted by default. Otherwise, we risk to have a little bit of background noise. It's not that we don't want to hear from you. If you're not a speaker, please turn off your video. We do that because we hope, the platform won't crash because of too much load. Feel free to post your questions in the Zoom chat. We will try to pick them up and give you the opportunity to interact with our speakers in the various Q&A sessions. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand and wait for the moderator to give you the floor. And if there's technical issues, I hope not, but if you have any, please send an email at info@h-cloud.eu. Also, if you want to make noise and help us amplifying the outreach of today's activities, follow us on our Twitter account and use the H Cloud Summit hashtag. Okay, now let me give you a little bit of an overview about the speakers of the morning. We will have Dr. Federico M, Facca, that is CTO of Martel Innovate and H Cloud Project Coordinator, welcoming and introducing into the more technical aspects related to those 2 days together. Then we will have from the European Commission, Head of Unit Cloud and Software, Pierre Chastanet, that will give us a keynote session about the European sovereignty in data and cloud. Then we will have an amazing panel, let me tell you, with high-level speakers with whom we will discuss a little bit the scene, setting the scene about next generation cloud computing in Europe. I will introduce them to you in more details when it comes the moment. Then we might try to have a little break. Let's see, we know that to be following online events is not always so easy. And finally, we'll have a plenary get together with Ana Juan Ferrer from Atos that will present the cloud computing research challenges and skills before then breaking for lunch and then continuing afterwards. What I would like to say before leaving the floor to my colleague Federico is that we appreciate very much you are with us today. We hope that you are all safe despite the crazy and dramatic boundary conditions. We feel that cloud, as all digital technologies, have a very important role to play nowadays to help our society, our citizens to stay connected to primary services like healthcare, like education, and you name it. So we're looking very much forward to those 2 days of lively and intense discussions. Now the floor is yours, Federico. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Monique. I will try to be very brief and coming up with the short introduction to H Cloud and also to welcome you to this H Cloud Summit. As Monique said, we are very pleased to have you here, and we hope this will be a chance to gather together and discuss interesting matters that will help us to shape the future of cloud computing in Europe. Let's start with the slides. So, I'm sure most of you recall these words from Ursula von der Leyen during the initial speech at the European Parliament. And I'm sure that when she presented herself to the Parliament as elected president, she didn't expect what was going to happen in 2020. And still, I mean, clearly, we are living, as Monique mentioned, in quite complex times. And despite that, I think many good things are happening, and we will turn out stronger thanks to this crisis. And I'm mentioning few interesting things that happened so far in 2020 that I believe will make you feel positive as well. First of all, there was a great and it's still ongoing experiment around federated high performance computing data center to compute novel drugs against COVID. And this is the biggest distributed experiment ever, and is an European experiment. And I think we should all be proud of that. It is also true that digitalization have been showing our resilience, and also somehow the pandemic enabled us to accelerate a bit the digitalization in Europe. And this turned, as a matter of fact, in a growth request for green computing services, and estimate are that this is going to grow in the next years, especially in Europe. It's also here where we have done many things related to space. We are sending now in these days a new satellite in space to monitor the sea level to improve our fight against the climate change. And this is happening because also of digital technology and artificial intelligence. We are more and more improving what we can achieve thanks to such digital technologies. It is also here where we have seen many debate over social media and around in the world, promoting the importance of fighting for a greener earth and supporting research and activities against climate change. And in this, again, the digital services played a great role to share the message along, but also they turned out to have more social concern regarding the importance of sharing proper messages. In this picture, the European Commission was really quite active and laid out an incredible agenda, trying to set different building blocks that will guide us toward the future, and especially with the data strategy that was published early this year in February. And of course, we are all here together to discuss about these matters. And I really hope that these days will be a nice chance to gather new insights on what we can do together thanks to digital services to create a better Europe. I invite all of you, if you have not done it yet, to download the green paper that we developed in the project that will be enriched with all the inputs we will receive during this event. And I leave the floor to Pierre Chastanet, and I invite all of you to enjoy the event.
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me properly?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Many thanks, Federico, for the introduction, and many thanks, Monique, for organizing this very important event for us, driven by the Edge Cloud project. Today is really an important milestone with the Edge Cloud Summit, and we have very strong expectation from all the participants to the summit to provide very valuable input and insights to help that key project move forward. The benefits of cloud are really clear to the European Commission. We have been working on this aspect for many years now, since the European strategy on cloud in 2012, and we have been keeping progressing our policies, addressing the different key barriers that are still preventing the good adoption and deployment of cloud technologies in Europe. More recently, the regulation on free flow of non-personal data was a key legislative milestone, which we really count is going to further support the good adoption of cloud. With this new commission, we have really entered into a new area of policies, in which we're really trying to focus on the sovereign dimension of technology. We have seen that it is very important for Europe to master a number of key technologies, notably digital technologies, and cloud is definitely part of these key technologies. Indeed, cloud is really a foundation technology for any organization, public or private, to undertake digital transformation. This will unlock access for companies to data, as well as enabling technology and transformative technologies like artificial intelligence, big data analytics, or blockchain. These are really essential for the competitiveness of companies, including SMEs in Europe. So as I said, we have really reached a new moment in terms of policy development, which also meets a critical moment in terms of technological development in cloud, which is a shift towards the edge. This is a vision that our commissioner has been very vocal about, that we do expect that the development of edge computing is going to absorb more and more the data collection, but also the data processing much closer to the user. So as you can see, cloud for us really represent a foundation for European digital innovation, connecting different trends, the development of the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and big data. So we believe that for organizations to move to the cloud, cloud-first policies, as we call it, is really an absolute prerequisite to foster successful digital transformation in Europe. There is a triple objective that our cloud policies in Europe are trying to address. The first is that we must ensure that there is an affordable access to cloud services for our businesses, SMEs in particular, but also public organizations. So it means that contracts with cloud service providers should be made in a fair and transparent and competitive manner. The second key objective is that we want to ensure that cloud services are secured and can be trusted by the parties that are contracting such services. The third big objective is that cloud services should become highly energy efficient. This is where the two key policy objectives of the Commission at a very high level on green and digital are coming together. Cloud represents an important component of the energy consumption of the ICT sector, and we must push the cloud and data center sector to become best in class in terms of energy efficiency and environmental performance. It's only like this that moving to the cloud will be a sustainable option to support the development of the digital economy in the long run. What we see in terms of market development in Europe is that the market has consolidated at a rather unprecedented pace. You may recall, for those of you who contributed to the development of the European cloud strategy in 2012, that at that time, our worry was that the market was too fragmented, that there was a jungle of standards. Well, what we have seen, especially over the past couple of years, because the trend has accelerated, is that the market has very rapidly consolidated around a few large global actors. In Europe and in the rest of the world is really no different. And that market dominance of global hyperscaler can represent a worry in terms of having a competitive market for European companies to choose from. We also see a risk with the overwhelming dependence of Europe on foreign actors. Increasingly, we have industries across Europe and across sectors that are reporting to us trust issues. Indeed, the possibility through laws of foreign jurisdiction for intelligence authorities or court to have access to data stored in cloud operating in Europe is really an increasing worry from CIOs of both public and private sector. Thirdly, we see an increasing development of vendor lock-in phenomenon. This is something that we try to address with the free flow of non-personal data regulation, for which we asked the development of codes of conduct on data portability. But still, we fail to see the real effect of those code of conduct on the market. So there is, of course, a challenge with the hyperscale nature of the main cloud market participant. And this is inflated by the degree of vertical integration across the cloud stack that is concentrating even further the different services that can be offered on cloud. We also see this as a major risk to hinder innovation in the long run. So the Commission sees that we should be working around two key directions to address those issues and challenges. The first is that we should continue strengthening European standards. We have pretty good technical standards, but they are not always very well adopted or understood. And secondly, there are also non-technical standards, codes of conduct I mentioned in different areas, as well as certification mechanism. So Europe is really already the world-leading standard setters in terms of data protection. We have what is probably the most protective legislative framework in the world when it comes to data protection and cybersecurity. The second big area of development is investment to develop European digital services. So we see that these two trends on standard setting and investment should be pursued in parallel. So let me address briefly some key aspects of these two major areas of work for the Commission. You may recall in the European Data Strategy that was published at the beginning of this year that the Commission proposed to develop a European cloud rulebook. Such a rulebook will encompass the different rules that are relevant for the cloud sectors in Europe, and will make it clear both to providers and user industries and public administration what they should be expecting from cloud providers in Europe, and notably how this should be reflected in their cloud contract. Let me highlight a few of the key elements of what we expect to see in that rulebook, building on existing regulatory and self-regulatory work that the Commission has facilitated. So again, we don't want to reinvent the wheel, but we really want to bring a coherent and integrated picture of the rules that are applicable to European cloud service providers operating in the single market. So first of all, we should be clear about the applicable legislative framework. I mentioned GDPR, free flow of non-personal data, but there are also horizontal pieces of legislation that are sector specific. Very recently, the Commission has adopted a piece of legislation for the financial sector on digital operational resilience, which is addressing pretty well for that sector the outsourcing to third-party service provider, including cloud service provider. We do expect that this sort of legislation on a sectoral basis that will address cloud is going to develop further. So again, we should make this clear in the European Cloud Rulebook and update as necessary the rulebook. On the self-regulatory side, this has been a key area of focus for the Commission over the past years. We have facilitated the development of codes of conduct on data protection, on data portability. There is a cloud certification scheme for the cybersecurity of cloud services that is currently in the pipeline of the European Cybersecurity Agency, ENISA. We have put forward code of conduct on energy efficiency of data centers. And more recently, we have started looking at how these different self-regulatory code of conduct and schemes should be reflected in standard contractual clauses. So it's something that we did in the past with service level agreement. More recently, we have started developing standard contractual clauses for the financial sector in close cooperation with European supervision authorities in that sector. Let me now look into the second big chapter of our intervention, which concerned the investment. Investment is really at the heart of European cloud policies, notably when it comes to developing further European capacities in this area. The Commission has reached an important milestone a couple of weeks ago with Parliament and Council giving us the final budget envelope for the multi-annual financial framework for the coming 7 years. Within this multi-annual financial framework, there are a number of key programs pertaining to digital, and we have really prepared very hard to make sure that we will be able to use these different programs in the digital sphere, specifically for the cloud sector. So let me explain shortly our intervention in these different programs. The first one will be the Connecting Europe Facility 2 program. CEF2 will be used to interconnect infrastructures that are spread across different member states. So this is one of the limitations we see currently. There are very vivid players at national level in the cloud sphere, but they have difficulties to get market access across borders. So by enabling their interconnection across Europe, we believe that this will facilitate cross-border access. We will use the Digital Europe program to do the same thing, but at service level. As you could understand from my words on standards, we still have problems of interoperability across Europe, and it's important that we can deploy at large scale middleware that will facilitate this interoperability across heterogeneous cloud services. DEP will also be used to deploy marketplaces at European level that will boost the visibility of cloud services that are meeting the condition of the European Cloud Rulebook. Last program I wanted to mention is the Resilience and Recovery Fund. Federico very rightfully quoted President von der Leyen, and I'm sure you've heard in the State of the Union speech her mention that she wanted to spend 20% of the Resilience and Recovery Fund into digital. And we do expect that investment in cloud will capture a significant portion of these funds. Just yesterday, the European Commission has published guidance on how member states should address cloud computing in their proposal for their plans of using the Resilience and Recovery Fund. So you can find this guidance on cloud. It's called Scale Up Module, where the Commission is detailing how we expect member states to use the RRF to scale up their cloud capacities as well as their microelectronics capacities. So all this investment will really give us a great opportunity for Europe to leapfrog in terms of cloud. So it's absolutely not the idea that we will rebuild a European Amazon or European Microsoft as with some time here. The idea is to invest into innovative technologies that currently do not exist in the market. And that will drive the competitiveness of Europe in the future. Some of the key promising areas that we see in that respect include developing services at the edge and integrating this with more centralized cloud capacities. So cloud to edge should be an integral part of our investment. Then we should interconnect the capacities that exist and that are currently fragmented in Europe in order to create a European Cloud Federation. In that respect, we see the work that Gaia X is doing as extremely relevant for that purpose. Last week, Gaia X at the 2 days summit, they are gathering over 180 participants, mostly from industry, but also from the public sector. And they are mobilizing both European cloud service providers as well as user industries. So it's not just a technological push for cloud, but it's also trying to integrate that cloud supply with European demand across different industries in Europe. Gaia X is expected to work on interoperability aspect, and we see this as a key enabler to facilitate the integration of different cloud services across the EU in order to gradually build a European cloud federation. Finally, our investment should also be geared towards sector-specific application. The one-size-fits-all approach of cloud services that has prevailed so far will not work in the future. We see emerging demand in the health sector, in Industry 4.0, manufacturing at large, in the connected automated driving, in smart grids, in health and medical application that traditional cloud services will not be able to meet. There is really a need to develop and scale up at European level cloud services that will meet the specific demand of those individual sectors. To make sure that all different actors and funding instruments will go in the same coordinated direction, Commissioner Breton has proposed to launch a European Alliance for Industrial Data and Clouds before the end of this year. So this European Alliance is going to be a soft instrument that will help us to coordinate the different parties, both the member state and industrial actors, in order to implement this different investment and cooperate with other initiatives such as GaiaX, as well as other member state national cloud initiatives. Finally, the last word that I would like to mention is the importance of the interaction between cloud development and the development of common European data spaces. We see that there is a real need for user industries to cooperate, foster data sharing within their sector in order to develop vivid and innovative ecosystem around data. The Commission is going to adopt in the next coming days or weeks a legislative proposal on the governance of common European data spaces. We see again cloud as a key enablers for the future development of those common European data spaces. So we have very strong expectation, as you see from Edge Cloud. We really do expect that the input that this coordination and support action is going to provide coordinated input towards these two streams of work on technical standards, delivering a technical roadmap for cloud in Europe, as well as helping us to better understand how we should refine our investment plans in the different programs that I mentioned. So many thanks for your attention, and really looking forward to these two intensive days of exchange among the participants to the Edge Cloud Summit. Many thanks for your attention, and looking forward to the upcoming panel. Many thanks.
Thank you very much, Pierre. Thank you very much also to Federico.